You're so hard on yourself. No wonder you're not achieving more. You're weighting yourself down with all this guilt and negative self-talk. No wonder you're not moving ahead faster and more joyously in life. You're being so hard on yourself because you're not recognizing and celebrating all those wonderful things you have done. So please internalize it into your identity. Good person, high achieving, giving, healthy, thoughtful, kind, whatever you got to tell yourself and whatever you got to recognize in your daily habits or your daily behavior to finally give yourself that recognition, important.
It's Brendon Burchard. I am super pumped in this session to talk to you about something that I know is really vitally important to your success the rest of this year, my friends. And you're asking lots of questions, and what I'm noticing is a very clear pattern that sometimes you're overwhelmed, sometimes there's a lack of clarity, sometimes you're like, which one, or I can't find this passion, or I don't know which thing to do, or someone doesn't understand me, or I'm wiped out already, how can I 10x my business, Brendon? So today we're gonna talk about your health and your productivity habits. And I know that some of this is gonna be common sense, but it's not common practice, and that's why you're struggling. And some of this you might have heard before, but you're like at a different stage of your life right now that it's time to really implement. But I'm excited to share with you today 10 habits for health and productivity. So what I'm gonna attempt to do today is teach you these 10 strategies or habits, and I'm gonna take them from two perspectives. I'm gonna give you one piece of advice, but I'm gonna discuss your health and your productivity. And the reason I chose to do that this month is because I think too many people separate these two things. And they're not taking into account their physiology and how they're really setting themselves up energetically by using their physical body. And they don't understand that your productivity is completely tied to how you feel. I mean, isn't it true so many days, like you're like, well, if I had a little more energy, a little more motivation, or just a little vibrancy, right? More mental clarity, physical pop, then I would do more things. But sometimes your productivity is really struggling because you zone out in the afternoon, right? Sometimes you get more distracted, and distraction was really triggered by fatigue, because that's what happens. Sometimes your brain is overloaded, you're tired, so what do you turn to? The easiest possible movement. Right? That's what happens. Like, you don't understand. Sometimes distraction was actually cued by the trigger of fatigue. Fatigue happened. Brain said, naturally, I don't want to do anything. So brain said, what's the easiest thing to do? Consume versus create. And so I know many of you are very serious about your health, as I am, or that you are in that stage of your life where you're like really taking it seriously. And that's why I wanted to bundle it to you together today, because as a high performance coach, I am always talking about that connection between physiology and productivity. They're just critical elements to how we feel and how we perform. And I was just with some mastermind members here in the last 2 days, and these are very high achieving people, just like you guys are. They're very driven, just like you guys are. They're very committed to their personal development, just like you are. And sometimes they're burned out. Let me weaponize. Let me gear myself up. Let me get in fighting shape. You know it's gonna be busy. You know the holidays are gonna come up and sneak up upon you, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. Like, reorient, realign, get yourself restored, recovered, ready, rehabbed, whatever you gotta do. I want you on step, listen, if all you get today is you say, you know what, I'm gonna commit myself to enter strong at my fighting weight, ready, productive, having set up everything to win, you crush this. That is my request, that's my demand of you. But you can't do it unless you set yourself up to win right now, and that's what these things are gonna help you do today. Obviously, we're taking on two big topics, health and productivity. So please be thinking about that as you bust out your journal. You might bust out your piece of paper, write down 2 columns, health, productivity, and whatever I share with you today is gonna cue some thoughts. You have within you so many answers about what you should be doing. If you're honest, you already know many of the things you should stop doing. And many of the things you should start doing. It's like an accountability check. It's kind of like a reorientation. It's kind of like a get some fire in that belly again to go out and do you, to go out and win, to go out and crush it, to go out and achieve and give and serve at your full potential. People join high performance coaching because they recognize there is another level. There is that next level of vibrancy, the next level of connection, that next level of meaning, joy, fulfillment, service to the world. And so, as always, for those who are joining us new for the very first time, I celebrate you. I recognize your commitment to personal development. Literally tens of thousands of other people saw the invitation to be here. You're here because you care about your personal development. And I know you care about your personal development, not just for you. You know, I care about these things on here, not just because how I want to feel. I care about these 10 things here because how I want to serve, how I want my family to feel around me, how I want to perform around my team and my clients and you guys. So I take these 10 things very seriously, not just because I want to have a great, happy, fulfilling life, because I also want the other people around me to enjoy the ride, to be together on this. And I hope that makes sense for you. So what I'm always asking high performers is to think about who needs you on your A game right now. Like, even before I reveal the strategy, why does it matter that you get your health in order right now? Why does it matter that you get more productive or more effective or more strategic in accomplishing your goals and your dreams over the next 6 months? Because, as you know, one element that makes what we do really special in high performance coaching like this is I'm always going to ask you to rate yourself and cajole you to measure yourself. And so let's take a quick snapshot. If you think about your health right now, like literally today, on a scale of 1 to 10, how optimized and vibrant is your health? Like 1 is you're dead. Okay, so you're probably not a 1. Okay, 1, dead. Okay, 3, you're hungover. Okay, 3, you're hungover. That's where you're at. But maybe like 6 or 7, you're feeling good. 8, 9, you're feeling strong. 10, you're like, Brendon, I am optimized. I feel full, vibrant, fully charged. Where are you? What's your number? 1 to 10. Think about that for a minute. Now, why is it that number? Like, why are you there? If you're like, Brendon, I'm a 5. Why are you at a 5? Is there a health issue going on? And if there is, what led to that? What led to how you feel today? I think what has helped me is that there's this continual awareness and measurement that I'm giving myself literally for years now of like, where am I? Like in terms of my vibrancy, my presence, my energy right now on a scale of 1 to 10. I ask that question all the time. It's one of my line triggers that you guys have heard me teach before. My trigger is whenever I step into line, like if I step into line at Starbucks, I step into line at the store, I step into line, waiting to get on the bus. I always say, okay, what level am I right now? In terms of my physical vibrancy and energy. And if I'm a 3 or a 6 or an 8, I still ask, why? What has led to this? Okay, and what could I do to improve it? And I'm sure you've had these gut checks before too, where like, health is everything. So please, let's be honest, where are you at? Scale of 1 to 10 on health. And also ask, even before I teach mine, what could you do that you already know you could do to optimize your health, to get where you feel better, to take better care of yourself? Do you need to sleep better, eat better, work out more, be more peaceful, do some meditation, take a walk, try some vitamin D on your body, get away from the blue screen and get out in some sunlight. What do you need to do? You probably know. Okay. So now let's move to productivity. If we thought about your productivity right now, let's say in the realm of the last 3 weeks, have you been on your A game in moving your life, your business forward? Or have you been kind of like distracted, sometimes going at it, sometimes not, inconsistent, unsure? And has your uncertainty paralyzed you? Has your uncertainty about what to do stopped progress? Because it's okay if you don't know every step that you're supposed to do. It's not okay if you stop every time you feel that, right? There's a ton of things in my life I don't know what to do, and I'm still bumbling into them, kind of dumb, but optimistic. I'm at least a dumb, enthusiastic person. I'm like bumbling into what's next, always. Never stopping, bumbling into what's next. And that's what keeps me so productive. People are like, how are you so productive? It's not that I'm super smart. It's that I just bumble in and I just keep it moving forward. I just keep cranking. I just keep going, even though sometimes it's a hot mess or I don't know how it's going to turn out. That's just life, guys. So be honest with yourself, though, on a scale of 1 to 10. 1, you were completely distracted, unaware, getting nothing done, loss of effectiveness, totality, right? Or were you a 10? You were on your A game. You feel like, wow, I was setting up the blocks, Brendon, knocking those things down, and here we go. Where do you feel like you were in these last 3 weeks? And then please do the assessment for yourself. Why was that the level of productivity you had? And what could you do to improve? Okay, this is my hope for us in this community. Guys, I'm always going to be asking you to do stuff like this. It's like, hey, whatever topic we ever take on, let's measure ourselves. Let's be honest. Score of 1 to 10. I want to give you this gift if you haven't picked up on it before. I know many of you are new, but obviously many of you have been here with us for months and years. You've dedicated yourselves to coaching, and I hope you have picked up on this little trick. Scoring yourself on a regular basis is incredibly powerful to personal development. You got to take a topic and score yourself on 1 to 10. How's my sleep been lately? 1 to 10. How have I been kind enough to my spouse? 1 to 10. Have I been a good mom? 1 to 10. Have I been good in business? 1 to 10. It's a regular assessment of self that generates self-awareness. The numerics, 1 to 10, kind of helps us give a bit of gauge versus just how do I feel about it. It's like, well, no, this is where I'm at. And then you can go, why am I there and what could I do better? I know that's so basic in personal development, so I hope this is serving you guys as an introduction before I jump into it, because I really, if I could give the gift of anything, it is that gift of both self-awareness, but then motivation and skill to becoming your best self and serving at your highest potential. Because, what's the point of talking about health and productivity if we also don't talk about your service to the world? It's not just about feeling good, it's about doing good. And that's why you're in this community. That's why I admire you guys. That's why I read all these chat roll comments. It's why I'm in the membership things. It's why I'm doing the DMs still. It's why I'm totally active in all of our communities, because I want to hear what you're frustrated with, what you're challenged with, but I also want to be that professional source for you that will keep you growing each month with some simple cues sometimes, but then also a little bit of advanced reminders. So with all of that, I hope that you've shut the door. I hope that you've kicked the loud animals and dogs out of the room, and that you got your journal and you're ready to take 10 very strategic notes on these types of things that will help you improve health, get more done, be more productive. Let's go. Number 1 major strategy in your health and your productivity right now is to realign now for your 3-year plan. What do you mean by that? What I would love for you to do is, sometimes when you talk about people's health, they're so focused on right now. They're dealing with that health issue. When you talk about productivity, they're focused on, geez, I've got all these things I'm juggling, Brendon, which one? And what I'd love for you to do is remember, high performance also comes from the element of strategic thinking and future casting yourself, like thinking out into the future. So what I'd love you to do is go, okay, in 3 years from today, like 3 years, so 3 summers from now, I would love for you to think about, how do you want to look and feel physically? What do you want to feel like in terms of your physiology, but your overall health? Where would you love to be with your overall health in 3 years? But also productivity. What would you love to have done? Like in your notes right now, what would you love to have accomplished, achieved, built, scaled, served in the next 3 years? Meaning, realigning right now is, I bet, and you can test me on this one, but if I know you guys, and I know how high performers and achievers and people dedicated to personal development are, is it true that throughout this year so far, you've picked up a few obligations that really shouldn't be on your plate if you're thinking about where you want to be in 3 years? What happens is when we're short-term focused, we fail to set boundaries. When we're short-term focused, oh sure, I'll help you with that. Oh yeah. People pleasers? Any people pleasers out there? You're like, oh yeah, I'll help you. Oh, I'll do it. And all of a sudden you are loaded up with everybody else's obligations. You are loaded up with everybody else's needs and desires and their dreams. And all of a sudden you realize you are carrying the weight of the world and not doing your world. You're carrying the weight of everybody else's obligations and needs, and you're not even living your life. And what I think is valuable at this time of the year is to completely realign to a future vision of what you want your life to be, right now. And when I say realign, I mean literally know what you need to stop, release, get rid of, and know what you need to start. But we can't talk about high performance without talking about the future. And so we must future cast you 3 years from now, minimum. Some of you, if you've already done that activity, go 5 years, go a decade. Where do you want to be? And what must you release right now? Because when you release it now, two beautiful things happen. One, releasing that which you should not be carrying is profoundly powerful for your mental health. That's one of our topics today, isn't it? When you release that which you should no longer be carrying, when you let it go, when you give it back, when you say no, and all of a sudden you get back lighter on your feet because you let go of those emotions, or you let go of those obligations, or you let go of those activities that you shouldn't be doing because they add no real value or bring you no real joy. All of a sudden you're lighter on your feet. And when you're lighter on your feet, man, your brain loves you. Your brain is like, oh, thank you for saying no finally, dummy, because I've been stressed out of my mind over here. Because health isn't just physiology. Health is psychology. Isn't it true? I mean, think about how much stuff you carry along for other people. So let me ask that question again. Isn't it true that you have kind of carried on, took on, gobbled up some things that you don't need to have in your life right now because they are not relevant to your alignment to your 3-year, 5-year, decade self? Because I know how your projects can make you myopic. I know how the day can gobble up obligations. I know how you can build something because that's where you are and you just handled problems and you built where you are, but you didn't think, where do you want to be? So this is the time to realign. Who do you want in your life? Where do you want to be? What do you really want to do? How do you really want to serve? What's truly the next level for you? What's it really look like in a decade if you could architect the dream? I'm in realignment too. But what's beautiful is some people are in strategic realignment in their life. They're constantly asking those questions. What do I really want now? Who do I want to be around now? What do I want my life to look like now? What's the mission, the cause, the service, the joy, the fulfillment that I want now in next 3 years and 5 years? And other people, it's forced upon them. It was forced upon me when I got sick or hurt. Some people, it's forced upon them when their partner doesn't love them and they get a divorce, when the kids leave the house, when they get fired or laid off. And I'm here to tell you, Team HPX, you got a choice. You either realign in life because of an emergency, or you realign in life because of strategic thinking. Got it? You either realign in life because of an emergency, and that's you're reacting, you're at the cause of the world, or you realign in life because of strategic thinking, visioning, forecasting, thinking. So I know you know this, but listen, whatever you need to realign, here's what I'm going to tell you. You're a high performer, so please listen. My job is to challenge a little bit here. Listen, whatever you need to realign, when you know you need to realign something, fear comes up. Because if you face the fact that you have to realign something, you also have to face the fact you're going to have to break something. Sometimes it's time to say no and break that relationship. Sometimes it's time to say no and break that obligation. Sometimes it's time to realign and you got to break that service contract, break that client. Some of you got to fire a team member. Some of you got to fire a client. Some of you got to fire a spouse. I don't make any of this easy. But sometimes the reason people don't realign is they are mortified. They are scared of the action they know they must take in their heart. And all I can tell you here is if there's an action you know you must take in your heart, you better take it. Because for your long-term health mentally, the longer you know you must do something and you do not do it, what happens in our psychology is that we know internally that we're lacking integrity and congruence. And when you know you're supposed to do something and you don't do it because of fear, your brain says, I know I should, but I'm not, so I'm lacking integrity and congruence. I know I should, but I'm not because I'm scared, so I'm lacking confidence and courage. And you start telling yourself this story, I'm less than, I'm not capable, I'm not good. And how does that feel? How does that feel to your mental health? How does that feel to your ability to get things done? So I know I'm spending a lot of time on this first point. I swear I feel like I could do this entire session on this one thing. It's so profound. You've got to realign to your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year vision. And as soon as I say that, I know when I was talking through what I was going through, I know something came up for you. You're like, realignment, that's scary. Because something in your heart might have said, I got to quit my job. I got to break off this friendship that's toxic. I got to do whatever that came up for you. All I can tell, I can't tell you if it's right, but I can beg you to listen to it. Be aware of it. Know what your heart and mind is telling you now. And be okay with the fact that when you realign, it immediately puts you in to transition moments. And when you realign something and you go into transition moments, what's there in transition? Uncertainty, risk, fear, the great unknown. And when you realign something and you go into transition, it's very important that you give yourself permission and make it okay that you don't know every next step, right? A lot of people move from certainty into uncertainty, and then when they move on to uncertainty, where a lot of exploration and growth can happen, instead they shut down because when they were certain, they knew what to do, and they felt like, well, I know what I'm supposed to do here. I feel good about myself. And then when they don't know what to do, even though there's more opportunity, they freeze because they get mad at themselves because they don't know every single thing. What I tell high performers all the time, and forgive this phrase because it's not, I always get judged a little bit for using the phrase, but I'm like, if you are in transition, it's okay if you're kind of a hot mess, babe. It just is. It's okay if you're starting something new. You're going to break something. You're going to realign. Guess what? As you go in that transition, you're going to be a little bit of a hot mess. Allow that. I am only here at this level of success and joy and fulfillment and contribution in my life because Brendon is really good about being a hot mess. I don't mind when I'm a hot mess because I'm trying something new. I don't mind when me, my companies, my teams, my clients, the people around me are hot messes because we're trying something new. That's part of trying something new. In other words, give yourself allowance not to be perfect. Give yourself allowance not to have it all dialed in and figured out. Because guess what? This renewal thing is either going to be something you love and enjoy because you give yourself credit, time, patience, grace to go through it, or it's going to be stressful, traumatic, awful. You're going to hate the journey. And the only difference between the two is conscious awareness and choice. What I keep finding over and over is the reason people don't get more done is because at night you lay in bed and you're hard on yourself. You lay there and you think, oh, I didn't get stuff done. What a jerk. Other people are getting more done. Look at them on social media being so fancy. and you start beating yourself up. And think about this. If you lay awake at night beating yourself up, does that make you a high performer in the morning? No, you wake up and you're like, ugh. And you got nothing's gonna save you except maybe caffeine. I have no idea. But I think it's really important for you guys to recognize that that happens. So as you go to realign, I'm telling you this from personal experience this last 6 months, I am here to tell you this. Have grace. Be cool with yourself, not knowing it. There were so many times in this last 6 months, it's just been like, wow, what am I doing? How's this going? Everything else like that. And I'd get hard on myself, and I'd feel that ruining my motivation. So maybe you're gonna enter this transition phase of your life joyously and release the judgment of yourself. I think if you can teach yourself to have fun in moments of renewal, if you can teach yourself to have grace in moments of renewal, you go faster, you feel better. And so when you finish the day, I want you to do a simple thing. I want you to start now, start literally tonight. When you go to bed, release that tension, that judgment, that upset, and step into faith and trust to know it's all going the best it can right now. I'm doing the best I can. If I'm not, in the morning, I'll even do better. But I'm good with where I'm at. I'm happy. I'm grateful. Thank you, God. And go to bed. I hope you're hearing me. I hope you're hearing me. You're laying awake. Stop ending your day judging yourself. Can we do that? And stop ending your day comparing yourself. Instead, end your day envisioning yourself. Where do you need to go? What can you start? What can you stop? Release some of those things. You have to set yourself up for the win.
Number one point was renew now. Like realign now. Figure out right now, where do you have to realign your life? I think I beat that horse. So now let's move on to number 2. You must create infrastructure. You've got to create the infrastructure to set you up for productivity and for health. What do I mean by that? Create infrastructure. They're in a place where like, I've got these dreams, I'm doing these things, but I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so struggling, and I'm high performing, but it's not happening. And the person didn't have the infrastructure to win. What do I mean? They didn't have one assistant, one team member, one employee. No one was helping them. Another person who I've spoken with recently had so many good things to give, but they never created the infrastructure to win in their business. They didn't even have the basic software or CRM or sales process they would need to scale the business. Often people ask questions about how do I scale the business, but they haven't even started the business. You know what I mean? And so what you have to do is create the infrastructure to win. Does that mean office, team? That might be it. But also think about just your health and your vitality. What does infrastructure mean there? Well, infrastructure there means, maybe that for me, I'll give you an example for me. And I've always been somebody who's like, I know I need a home gym. I need to create the infrastructure that ensures that I actually get my workout in. I'm more likely to do it if I have gym equipment in my house or really near my house. So I set that infrastructure up. What else do I do? You got to set up the infrastructure for your health. So I've got like the dumb-proof way. I wake up, there's my gym clothes. That's the infrastructure for the day. Meaning you've got to set up every moving piece you can to ensure your performance can be as high as it potentially could be, right? The infrastructure for you to succeed. Because here's what you cannot rely on. Just your own personal discipline. How many of you, I wish I was more disciplined. It's not really happening for me. You're counting on your own feeling, motivation, drive, discipline to be there 24/7. And the truth is it's not always there. The truth is sometimes you lose it. So the infrastructure must be in place to make you work. So as an example, infrastructure can be scheduled calls for you. Infrastructure can be, block time set up the same time every single day. Infrastructure can be an accountability partner or a certified high performance coach. Infrastructure can be, having the systems and tools that you need to win. I don't know what it is for you, but as I always say, you need to know what it is for you. What would the ideal environment, infrastructure, team, or systems be that ensure that you can actually realign to where you're going? What would that look like? What infrastructure are you lacking? Sometimes I tell people, especially in the health category, it's like, make sure you get yourself like an accountability partner, someone who you are going to work out with, be with, because that person is the infrastructure to guarantee. When they show up knocking on your door, that is the infrastructure for you to keep your health promises to yourself, because here's this person, they're counting on you. Here we go. We're going to work out. That's infrastructure. I hope that makes sense. I know that I'm using that term broadly, but you need to question whether or not you set yourself up for success. Okay, next up, big strategy. Also, since we're talking about health and productivity, I'm going to use this phrase a little loosely, but I need you to find your doctor. Okay, we're going to talk about this in two. Again, each of these strategies I'll teach from the health perspective and the productivity perspective. Find your doctor. First, since we're talking about renewal, I am hoping that at this stage of your life, because you're probably not in high school anymore, that you have a great doctor, that you have a great nutritionist, that you have a great, naturopath, that you have somebody who is guiding you in your health about how you are, about how to take care of yourself. Do you have a great doctor? Do you have somebody who is advising you on where you're at and how healthy you really are? If you don't, you're kind of guessing. And that's what ends up happening, unfortunately, for so many people in their health, is they wait months and months and months and years and years and years. They don't get anybody who's giving professional advice to them. And so they guess. And then they find out they're deficient in this, or they're deficient in that, or they find out that this bad thing has been going on, or that, that bum knee was, you tore your ACL 7 years ago. I mean, it's just like people don't, it's if you're not doing regular health checkups, how are you going to optimize for the long term? But let me use this word loosely here too, with finding your doctor. Let's talk about productivity, right? Or your business. Do you have like a business doctor? Do you have a entrepreneurial doctor? Meaning, do you have somebody who comes in and takes a health check of your business? Those often in the business world, we call them consultants, right? You call them mentors, you call them partners. It's somebody who's doing an external health check on you and your business. That's what I mean by find your doctor. Somebody doing an external health check. Because, I know that's why many people join this group or one of our masterminds, or they come to our event, they're like, you know what? I need someone to tell me, is my business on track? Do you know if your business is on track? You have a guess about it, but you might not know. Are your conversions really good? Are you leaving money on the table? Did you forget to implement this thing? Did you not know that thing was not happening? And so what ends up happening is, because we don't have a third party looking at our stuff, we think we're doing our best, but we really don't know. That's what I mean by using this two ways. Find your doctor, so you have an external person checking the health of your life, but the health of your business. Or if you're like, Brendon, I don't own a business, but I'm in a management role. Great. Who's the doctor there? Who at work can be the person who does a health check on your career? Who you can sit down with and be like, hey, is my career healthy or sick? Because a lot of people don't know. And then what ends up happening? Wrong job, wrong career, wrong role, wrong compensation, not meaningful fulfillment at work. And this is why we have 70% of this, 70% of North America does not enjoy their job. What is up with that? What's up with that? Why does that happen? Why? Because they're not getting sometimes external feedback. There's no mentor, no coach, no doctor to kind of go, you're not healthy here. I hope this makes sense. So find that role, find that coach, find that consultant. For those who run your businesses, if you have a significant sized business, let's call it anything. If you're running a business and you're, let's say, over $250,000, I hope that you are hiring consultants to come in once or twice a year and just do an audit with you. Look at your process, like hire experts and pros to come in and look at your business. I'm telling you how vital that is for people, and entrepreneurs never think to do that, because what do we do as entrepreneurs? We take everything on our shoulders. So you take everything on your shoulders and you miss things. You hear what I'm saying? You really want to become more productive? Know that what you are doing is the right thing. And sometimes you need an external perspective. Hire that consultant, have them come in, just do a spot check on the business. That's incredibly valuable. Okay, next up, I know this is so obvious, but both for health and productivity, you got to have your metrics. You got to get measurable numbers on your health and your business. I know many of you guys, when I'm out on the road, I meet you, you're like, Brendon, here's my Apple Watch. It tells me how long I slept, how many steps I took. Did I sleep well? Where's my health? I know that's really something many of you already are practicing, and I appreciate that, and I think that's awesome. I also will urge you to take a look at how you are measuring your career or your business and make sure you actually have significant metrics. Are you measuring what you're doing now in a way that tells you the information you need to know whether or not you're performing high? Meaning, do you know your revenue growth this month versus last month versus the last 6 months? Is that revenue growth good or bad? If you have subscribers, are they staying with you and growing, or are they leaving in droves? If you're somebody who runs a brand or a business, are you somebody who's really clear with what you are moving towards? Metrics are hard. I encouraged you guys before, I know, to read a book called Measure What Matters. I hope you'll revisit that if you have not read that yet. Read that book, Measure What Matters. It will help you kind of go, oh, am I setting metrics up that are allowing me to win, right? It's measurement by objective. It's measurement by goals. It's measurement by knowing your numbers. And one of my early mentors in my career and life was Brian Tracy, and he says, you got to know your numbers. He's like, if you don't know your numbers and you're not managing towards numbers, then you're managing towards impulse. And impulse tends to let you down. I don't feel like it. I think it's okay. It's not enough. Metrics. So set metrics both for your health, and you can do that very simple. Like for me, many of you guys know with my health tracking, I track and have tracked forever how many hours of sleep I get every single night. I track and measure simple things like, okay, every year I'm trying to keep this type of weight or this type of muscle, or every year at my events, I try to put this much into my events and know where I am at. Even in my workouts every day, I'm like, okay, my metric today is I'm going to give 80% in every movement. Some days I really go in with a different intention. I'm like, my metric today is I've been unhealthy for a little while. I'm going to give 60%. Can't give 80%. I'm not there yet. I'm going to build up to 80%. And so it's simple, like just little numbers, like we talked about at the beginning. Sometimes measuring yourself from a score of 1 to 10 or something like that can be really powerful. This other concept applies to a lot of the questions I just kind of rolled through with you. I covered this last month, so make sure you watch that replay. I'll be quickly on this one. You got to have that philosophy done by one. Magic, guys. How do you prioritize goals? Part of it's done by one. What does that mean? Done by one is a philosophy that I practice that says the major activities of the day that are going to move the projects and the priorities forward, how do I get those done by 1 p.m.? It doesn't mean I don't do other things, but things like email or social media or replying to texts or taking calls or doing like administration, like administrative things, paperwork, shuffling. None of that happens before 1 p.m. That stuff after 1 p.m. Reactivity after 1 p.m. Up until 1, it is strategically work on the major initiatives that move life forward. And what would I have to do and focus on if I could only have a work day till 1? Not try to get everything in, not try to say finish every day, by 1. This is not the 4-hour work week nonsense. This is like, no. If you had to do major initiatives, like if you had to make the day count, if you knew the day counted and you only had till 1 to do it, what would be the major things you focused on? That's the done by 1 philosophy. That's how I go to bed at night, knowing I did the major things. It's so rare I go to bed and I'm like, oh my God, honey, I was supposed to do this thing. Because every day I'm like, what's the done by 1 philosophy? It's like, what must happen today to move the needle forward? I hope that helps. Okay, this one plays to a question I just saw. How do you encourage your partner to join you on your health journey? Which is kind of a point I'm going to make here of you enrolling team. Now, here's the deal. I know many of you do have team. Many of you have accountability partners, coaches, friends. You're good to go, right? I get it. You're doing a good job. However, I would love to share this with you right here, right now. Most of you do not have sufficient team to go where you want to go. And the team that you do have, you need to constantly enroll and expand. I want you to write those words down. Enroll and expand. Right? You're always enrolling your spouse and your partner, your team to believe in the mission, to go where you're going. They need constant reminders. Enroll everybody around you. Don't be caught on the fact that some people won't understand you, because not everyone needs to understand you for your progress. But please understand what I'm saying here. You need to actively be enrolling people into the lifestyle, the dream, the mission that you want to serve. I ask this all the time to you guys as your coach. Do the people around you who are most important, do they really know what you want in life? Have you been honest, transparent, vulnerable with your real thoughts, desires, dreams, and needs? Or are you hoping they kind of figure it out? If you're enrolling people, you're constantly in that communication process with them. And when you're constantly enrolling people, they know where they stand. They know what they're supposed to do. And so make sure everybody in your life who's important, at least, it doesn't mean they all need to approve or participate, but there should be an active dialogue about truth, what you need, what you want, where you're going. And if they don't like it, doesn't mean you have to enroll them and keep trying to get them in, but at least have made the effort. Second, expand your team. Expand your team, expand your team, expand your team. That team might mean, hey, listen, if you go on a walk each morning with your neighbor, great. Get 3 more neighbors in there. That way, when the one neighbor gets sick and doesn't show up to take you on a walk, door still gets a knock, you still walk out the door, you still stick to your habits. Having backup team is vital. Having a plethora of team. Like I'm amazed at how huge my team is in this industry. Now, they might not call themselves employees or team. They might not be an official contractor or employee, but the whole industry, I feel like, is constantly my team. They're cheering me on. Go, Brendon, go. You got this. Come on, man. Let's do these things. There's so many people because I've enrolled so many people into this high performance journey that they cheer me on, that I'm always expanding that team. And I want you to do that too. Always expand your team. Most of you, if you don't have enough assistance, and I mean that both if you don't have the assistance you need in life, but also if you don't have a personal assistant, get one. Get some support. Have the people around you who support you on your journey, whether you got to hire them, take them as an intern, get some support or help from a family member, but you got to expand your team. And I know you know this, so here's what I'd like you to do. I know that's basic, but here's what I'd like you to do, the advanced thing. Connect this idea of enroll and expanding team to that first point. Realign. So if I want you to think about, okay, for the next 3 or 5 years, what's my vision for myself in 5 years? Okay, to get there, what's the team I would need at that moment, not to get there, but when I am there, what's the team that's gonna have to be in place for me to have that big dream? What's the team I would need now or need then? And start building that right now. You don't wait to need team, you build team. Let me say it again. You don't wait to need team, you strategically build team in advance to get you where you want to go. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I am watching the time for you guys, and I hope that you're enjoying this process as much as I am, because this one's really important. Next big idea is you need to get a process partner. Get a process partner. Okay, what does that mean? I'm going to use process in a different way than you think I am. I'm not using process in terms of like engineering process. I'm going to use process here in terms of processing, almost like think about like processing as in therapy. And I know you're going to laugh at this, but I really mean this. You need somebody who you can talk to on a consistent basis to process life with. You want to stay mentally healthy and you want to get more done, you need to be in active dialogue with someone where you are processing the week. Where you're like, here's what was going on this week. Here's what was, sucked. Here's what was good. Here's what I was trying to do. Here's what I really want. Here's what I was down about. Here's where I lost focus. Here's what I was frustrated about. Here's what I love. Here's what I take joy in. Here's what I'm grateful for. Most people in this world strive alone. And that's why they never reach high performance. Because the only processing happening is in the moment reaction. Hey, you and I both know most people don't even journal at the end of the night. So they're not processing what's happening to them or they're experiencing. They're going from one emergency to the next emergency to the next need to the next emergency. And no wonder they've blown out their adrenals. No wonder they're exhausted. No wonder they're stressed. No wonder they're sick. They're just going from one emergency to another, and they're never like processing that stress, never processing what happened, never processing the trauma. You and I both know one of the leading indicators of illness, mental illness today, is unprocessed trauma yesterday. That when you go through your childhood, you don't know how to process stuff. And then all of a sudden you're in, high school or college or out in the work world, and you're going through the day, but you've never processed who you are, what happened to you, how you show up in the world. And that leaves you ill-equipped to understand your full consciousness and range of potential. And so what I'm here to suggest to you, my friends, is that you need somebody to talk through the day and the week with. Some of you have the blessing, that's your partner, that's your spouse, that's your lover. Some of you have a coach, I hope. Some of you have a therapist. Some of you got that one best friend that every time you go out, oh my God, you killed the bottle of wine and all the popcorn. And that is your process partner. That's your friend, it's your buddy, it's your pal. For me, one of my process partners, a buddy of mine, Ryan, we'll go out, play some racquetball, or we'll go on a walk, or we'll just chat on the phone, we'll have some fun, and go have some tacos and beer or whatever. And I feel great just talking through. It's not just somebody to catch up with, an old friend. It's, this is what I'm up to. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I love. This is what I could use help with. And just talking it through. Because think about this. Many of you probably have some relationship conflicts in your life right now, but you don't talk it through with anybody. And so that conflict is building up this stress, this steam in your body. And one day you pop and you don't know why, meaning you're compromising your health by not having a process partner. So you got to get a process partner. You got to get somebody who you like, know, trust, you connect with. I encourage everybody here, if you don't have a walking buddy, someone you go on a walk with, somebody you spend time with on a regular basis, someone you on a regular basis go to the cafe with or the wine bar with, schedule that in again. And don't be that person who goes, well, I do that, Brendon. When? Well, once a quarter. I'm like, not enough. You don't know the pressures you're building up. One of the great release valves of humanity is this mouth of yours. If you're not talking it out, it's building up. If you're not talking it out, it's building up. If you're not talking out, it's building up. And then one day you pop. So please get that process partner. It might not be your partner, your spouse, your lover, your husband, your wife. It might not be that person. That might not be the thing. That might stress them out too much. You got to know that. That might not be them. For me, in my life, my family is not the best process partner for me, because if I process with them, it brings up a bunch of other stuff that stresses me out. And I love my family. It's not saying anything ill against them. It's I need a process. So my process partner is the CHPC, a certified high performance coach. Having my own coach to talk things through, it just makes me go, oh, okay. It keeps me on my track. It keeps me on my A game. A lot of my industry partners who I literally talk with on a regular basis, every month, I'll talk with them and just process. I have a 2-hour process session. Here's where I'm going in my business. Here's where I'm at. And it's just they're my peers, but they're my process partners. So I hope that many of you hear this. You need this. This is not a nice to have. This is not a luxury. This is going to keep you healthy and productive long term. Why productive? Because it helps someone, identify where you're really at, identify what you're struggling with. They go, you said this last week or last month. Or just that process of getting it off your chest allows you to run faster tomorrow. You're not so weighted down by the stress because you processed. I hope that makes sense. That did rhyme. That sounded really good. I was rhyming there. No one picked up on that. Okay. What else? Where am I at? Oh my gosh, guys. I'm doing my best here. Okay. This one, I'm passionate about this one, and I think it's really important, is that you have to be supplementing for health and productivity. Supplementing for health and productivity. I'm deeply passionate about this topic, obviously, right now. I think it's really important that you supplement for health and productivity. What do you mean by that? Well, for health, if you go see a nutritionist, you're going to find out that you're going to need some supplementation. I don't think there's a single person alive who is literally getting everything that they need. And so you're going to have to supplement for health. And I don't know what that is for you until you go get your blood work done, until you know your own genetics, until you sit down with a professional, a nutritionist. You won't know where you're struggling or where you might be deficient. So make sure you go see that healthcare provider. And then for productivity too, you got to supplement for productivity. Obviously, many of you guys already do that. You might not consider that, but when you have that caffeine in your coffee, that's a supplement for productivity. Whether you know it or not, or whether you feel it anymore because you have a lot of caffeine, that does change the brain. It does change how you interact with things. It does change how you think. And so that's really important to know. That's a supplement move right there. There are other healthier options. Many of you guys know we have supplements that we have as a business, our HPX optimized supplement. That is for long-term brain health and mental clarity and focus. Got to take it. If I don't take it, I feel stressed. If I don't take it, I feel scattered. If I don't take it, I'm not as focused. And so I built that product and that supplement with that in mind. I was like, I want to be I want to be a productive, focused, creatively energized person. I just was someone who caffeine's not the right thing for me. Maybe it is for you. For me, that was necessary to figure that out. I had to figure out, how does my brain work? Where are my stressors coming from? What could I do to calm myself down or to get focused? And that's different for everybody. Some of you need things to calm yourself down. You need a few more adaptogens to deal with stress. Pop some, phosphatidylserine, at 100 milligrams during the day. You might be like, wow, I feel so much more mental focus, clarity, and less, stress, because it drops your cortisol. I don't know what it is for you, but you should know it. But specifically, you need to know this one. You need to know your enemies. You need to know your enemies. This is so critical. Do you know your enemies when it comes to your health? Do you know what they are? I mean, some people, you're like, oh, Brendon, my enemies? Oh yeah, it's wine, it's salami, it's too much cheese. And so you know your enemies when it comes to health, right? You know your enemies. Oh, my enemies, that's my excuses that I don't have time. You know what? My enemies are, when I get stressed, I grab that bag of potato chips and I go to town, and then I eat the next bag of potato chips and I go to bed. And I know you know what I'm talking about. You got to know your enemies. What are they? What makes you feel terrible? I have a friend, I think I've talked about before with you guys, who turned 40 years old and found out that he was allergic to eggs. Now, what did he have every morning of his life almost for 40 years? Eggs. He didn't know the enemy for him was eggs. And so he was losing the morning for almost 40 years to, puffy eyes, blowing his nose, coughing up stuff, having phlegm all over the place. And it was like, hey, that's not good. He didn't know his enemy. So his health was being compromised. You got to know your enemies. So again, see the health professional so you know. Do you know your food allergies? Like, I know, listen, especially right now, this beautiful weather, it's summertime. You're walking by in Portland, Oregon, and you see that little gelato store. And I'm like, oh, that gelato store. I want to go in gelato store. And guess what I don't do? I've never walked in a gelato store because I know that's my enemy. If I eat that, I will literally turn into a pile of mud and just sink into the ground. Nothing good is going to happen from that moment. Why? Because I have food allergies to that. I can't have that. It will shut me down. So I know what my health problems are. I know what my health conditions are. I know what the enemies are. It's so important. I also know enemies as simple as this. Like when I go into the restaurant, if it's a wine night, I might have a glass of one or two wine, and guess what? Often I want that third glass of wine. That third glass is the enemy. So how do I beat the enemy? When I get to the restaurant and the waiter comes over and the waiter says, would you like a bottle of wine? And the people around me do, yeah, we'll have it. I say, hey, I'm going to pick up the tab for this, but come over here, friend. Okay. Hey, could you help me out tonight? Do not pour me a third glass of wine. Don't allow anyone else. If someone pours me a third glass of wine, you pick it up and you take it away. But I'd like you to monitor and don't let the third glass of wine hit. Because, sir, the third glass of wine, that's my enemy. Can you prevent that? And the waiter, every single time, he or she will help me out with that. So I'm setting the precondition. I'm setting myself up. That's creating infrastructure to win, ladies and gentlemen. No one pours me the third glass of wine. Ain't gonna happen. Not always, but most of the time. That's one way I prevent myself from dealing with the enemy. Because to me, an enemy is fatigue. An enemy is a hangover. An enemy is anything that doesn't make me feel my best the next day when I got to serve you guys every day of my life. Make sense? I think it's important to know your health enemies, but also not just in terms of food or beverage. Know your enemy. Your enemy might be a practice. Your practice of checking social media before going to bed, which activates your dopamine system and reward system, which prevents you from falling into deep sleep. Your enemy might be saying yes too often. Your enemy might be making too many excuses. Your enemy might be whatever. What are your enemies that are hurting your health and productivity? You need to know them. Here's an enemy of mine. So simple. One simple enemy. I know it. When I walk in the office, if I see it, I'm like, uh-oh. A cluttered desk is an enemy for me. Not for everybody. Some of you guys can work like champions. I know I got friends, I got employees. Their desk can be a total mess and they're a weapon. For me, If a cluttered desk, that's a productivity enemy for me. It is. It's not good. Noise levels, productivity enemy for me. If it's really, really loud, I got to travel with those noise canceling headphone things because noise is a productivity enemy for me, not for everybody. So I'm just sharing, like, those are simple things, but what are your enemies and are you mitigating those enemies? That's the question. I hope that's helpful. Last big idea for your health and your productivity. You've got to internalize and socialize all the wins. Internalize and socialize. What do I mean by that? Well, internalizing the wins means, listen, you actually, like, when you have a good meal and you did a good job, you didn't overeat or order the crappy food, like, internalize that. Be like, oh, I'm a person who takes care of my health. Good job today. When you're somebody who you got something done during the day and it was good, you moved a project forward at the end of the day, give thanks to that. I'm thankful today. I'm a person who gets stuff done. I stayed on my A game. I was focused. I completed that. Meaning, you've got to internalize the win so it becomes part of your identity. A lot of people win and do incredible things in their life, but they never feel good about themselves. And if you never feel good about yourselves, are you really going to progress at your full potential? How do you feel good about yourselves? You start internalizing those wins. You recognize them, you journal them, you celebrate about them, you talk about them with your process partner, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, I got some rhythm here. Most of you guys, if I could just grab you and give you a big hug, most of you guys are doing more, achieving more, and being a better person than you ever give yourself credit for. You're so hard on yourself. No wonder you're not achieving more. You're weighting yourself down with all this guilt and negative self-talk. No wonder you're not moving ahead faster and more joyously in life. You're being so hard on yourself because you're not recognizing and celebrating all those wonderful things you have done. So please internalize it into your identity. Good person, high achieving, giving, healthy, thoughtful, kind, whatever you got to tell yourself and whatever you got to recognize in your daily habits or your daily behavior to finally give yourself that recognition, important. Also, socialize. Like, man, I talk to so many people, they never celebrate. They have a big milestone and they don't take their wife or spouse out to celebrate the milestone because they're waiting for the next, they're building their business and it's like so many people, I'll celebrate my business when I'm a millionaire. I'm like, if you won't celebrate your business when you made your first $100 sale, you're going to be no different when you make $1 million, man. I know you'll tell yourself that story, but it's not true. Because what we do in the small things is what we do in the big things. And I think it's really important that you go out more. Like, get out of your house and celebrate with friends. Be like, hey, you know what? I finished a chapter today. No, it doesn't have to be, I finished a book and got published and I'm New York Times bestseller. Let's go party. No. I finished a chapter today. You want to go get some tea? Want to get some coffee? Want to get a glass of wine? Like, hey, I said I was going to do these 3 things today. I did them. Let's celebrate. Let's go to dinner. Or let's celebrate. Let's go for a walk. Or let's celebrate and take a break or go to a movie. Or, if you're not celebrating your achievements and your progress by actually living a life, then life starts fighting the achievements and the ability to progress. That's what happens. Life rewards what feels good. Life will minimize what doesn't. And so if you are constantly being hard on yourself, not recognizing, not internalizing, not socializing, not celebrating, if there's no celebration in your life, is it a wonder why it's such a slog for you? It's not a slog for you because what you're doing is hard. It's a slog for you because you're not celebrating each step towards what is difficult. I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really hope that this is one session that you will listen to again, that you will watch, or at least go implement what you just journaled and wrote down about, because you deserve to have an incredibly vibrant, high-achieving life. And this year, you should crush it this fall. But you got to prepare. You must realign right now. That's my invitation to you.
Hey, it's Brendon. I just want to thank you for watching my channel. There's so many other teachings and trainings on this channel, so please enjoy. Thanks for being here. Also, for those who want to go to another level, I have an upcoming Certified High Performance Coach Certification Week. This is where I teach you and certify you to become a world-class life coach. We call them Certified High Performance Coaches. You can click the link in the description right now to apply and to learn about our upcoming certification week. If you want to go to another level as a life coach and you want me to certify you and help you, make sure you click that link and take advantage of it right now. Enrollment is open today.